Hello, 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 and welcome to another Daily Code Fun. I am One Lion, and we are starting late today. So it was kind of fortuitous. It was serendipitous that I had a meeting that I wasn't really paying attention to on my calendar that I needed to be at 11 o'clock my time because the Maui Blazor Hybrid stream was going on with James Montemagno and Jamie and Alan. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and James said it like 60 times. That sucks. I'm such a terrible person. Anyway, um, so that was going on, and I thought it was only going to take an hour, so it would have went from 9:30 my time to 10:30, which is the time that I would start streaming. However, they went until like 12, 11:30, 11:30, I think. So I think they went for 2 hours full. But yeah, it was a cool stream. They were going through the Microsoft Learn Maui Microsoft Learn from Maui, whatever it's called. And then they were answering people's questions, being really, really nice and pleasant. And then I learned about a new trick. It's a pretty terrible trick, too. So if any of you were on YouTube watching on the .NET channel, and you might even see this in the playback, there is or I don't know if it's a user, it might be a bot, but there is either a user or a bot that kept showing up and posting just emotes, which emotes aren't, anything terrible by themselves. They could mean things like if you put what are they called? An eggplant and a peach next to each other. But the problem was that the user's display name was what you would normally see a bot put in the text, which was a pornographic expression. It was things alluding to sexual, non inappropriate things for that kind of stream. And so they deleted the messages, but the username was still visible, promoting their website or whatever phishing site, which was kind of ingenious, but also kind of dumb on Google's part, if you ask me, or on YouTube's part, whatever. But it was pretty creative. And hello, Avidus. So anyway, hi Dukasoft. You've been here since like what, 3 weeks ago? I don't think you ever leave this chat. I appreciate you being here. You're always so awesome. You're always so cool in chat. 4 weeks, I think. You didn't miss the start. We are just now starting. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for gifting that sub to Science Streams. Science Streams is another amazing person who just is overall just loves to encourage other streamers, support people in general. It seems like the experience that I've had on his stream is that he's just a fantastic, thoughtful person. No worries, Avidus. You can still be distracted. However, I will answer your question so that you can get back to being distracted. So, as some of you may know, yesterday I had an interview, a Google interview, and like there were a bunch of things that I did that, like, just I thinking back on it, there are things that I really shouldn't have mentioned. Like my anxiety levels were through the roof. Um, that's normally something you don't really talk about during an interview. You kind of exude, or at least fake, confidence. But I was just like, you know what? If I fail this, I fail it. Um, Tukasoft. I can't read that out loud because I'll activate too many people's phones. Um, hey, assistant, did One Lion get hired? So in any case, it was a cool problem that they had me working through. I had fun with it. The interviewer was so cool. She was laid back. And when we were talking, the experience, so I can talk about the experience itself. I can't talk about the problem, of course. But the experience itself was like, the interviewer was just trying to gauge me. So this was a pre-screening interview or a screening interview or whatever it's called. So if I did well, then they'll call me back and then we'll do the full interview process, like 4 or 5 different interviews, behavioral interview, coding interviews, team interviews, etc. Excuse me, that's all we have for today. Let's go back to some other place. While I'm saying this, please. Gonna have to wait until next month before we get a steady stream of window swap screens. So in any case, the interview went like, she introduced herself, kind of gave me an overview of what to expect. Then she said, so here is the problem that we're going to go through. We're not going to create this entire app, so don't think of it from that standpoint. I want to gauge, or I want to see how you would design this, how you would do this. And as I was working through it, the first things that I did, so I watched a whole bunch of interview prep videos, blogs, did a whole bunch of LeetCode, did a whole bunch of HackerRank, did a whole bunch of Project Euler, and I just kept doing it over and over and over. And like one of the main things that I think was the best piece of advice that was given in the videos or in the stuff that I watched and read was keep talking. Well, this dot whatever you want, semicolon, obviously. So it's just keep talking. Have a conversation with your interviewer because you're not being interviewed by the interviewer. You're working with the interviewer to solve this problem. You're coming up with the ideas on your own, but if you do get stuck, you can ask the interviewer. There is nothing wrong with that. That kind of shows that you're willing to reach out to team members if you're working with team members to ask them, hey, I'm in this situation. I have these ideas, but I can't quite figure out how to implement this specific thing. But I remember there was like one specific instance, or actually 2 instances where I did this. But the first instance, I was like, okay, so I've gone through all of this information up front. I've talked with you about it. And she's like, okay, now let's write some code. And it was in a Google Doc, as you have heard probably. So no auto formatting, no helpers really. Or did it have auto formatting? I don't think it had auto formatting. Anyway, so after I wrote out the code, I was like, there's got to be something that I'm missing. And so her statement back to her, and then I was like, do you see anything that I am missing? And she's like, her statement back was, well, it looks like you're missing some validation, which triggered me to think, okay, I'm looking at my input. I'm checking to see if this thing is null. I have laid down the assumptions that nullability is turned on because I was able to write in C#. I was using C# 10 syntax. Is it C# 10 that introduced the equals new open close bracket? Anyway, whichever version of the C# lang did that. And so you lay down the assumptions. You always talk about what you're assuming, what you're doing. And I didn't really know what that meant until I was in the interview doing it. And I'm like, well, so what I'm thinking is blah, 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 blah. But at this point, it was like, I'm not validating these edge cases. You're right. And then she also gave some input on maybe you would also want to move that property into this other object. And so instead of saying, no, I don't think that that's right, it was is what she's saying something that I would do in order to make this work? If it makes sense to her, that must mean that it's plausible to put it there. So I thought about it and I talked about what I was thinking about. I'm like, if I do that, then blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this looks like a good idea. Thank you for the suggestion. And I think that doing those things kind of shows your willingness to work with someone, as well as to take criticism, as well as to, yeah. So, a bunch of things work together. Point is, I think I did well. And after the coding session part of it, she said, I want to give you a few minutes to ask any questions that you have. And so my overall question was, I know that I was a bit nervous. Is there anything that you noticed that I did that I could do differently if I get the opportunity to interview again? And she didn't give me any critiques on that. She said, I think you did really well on the interview, and what you can expect if you are allowed to go through to the next round of interviews is blah, 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 blah. This is how the next set parts of the interview work. So then that kind of made me think that she is recommending me to go through to the next round of interviews. But she didn't have anything that she said, you could have done this better, or I would recommend doing this in the future. It was all, I appreciated that you kept restating the problem. I don't know if it's a junior position. It was just the screening process. If they have positions, that's when they will be doing a more focused, you're going to be interviewing at this level. So Google has levels L1 through L10, L8, maybe L10. So I would most likely, after assessing myself after this interview, probably be interviewing for an L4 position, L4 or L5, maybe even, maybe. But the thing is, I don't know what the actual work would be. And as you know, I'm kind of in love with Blazor. Not that I should restrict myself to a specific technology, but I would much prefer to, if I'm going to work big tech, to work at Microsoft on a product that I know and love and advocate for. Unless, of course, somewhere in their Google Cloud backend, they use C# and .NET. Do I have professional experience already? Ghost Ninja, I know that this is your first time in our chat, but you've been on Discord for a while. Actually, I don't know if you've ever heard me. No, you're good. You're good. I don't know if you've ever heard me talking about this in Discord. Yeah, I know you're relatively new. And thank you, Prog Testing, for inviting Ghost Ninja. We really, really enjoy having you on our Discord server. You've been providing a lot of really good feedback to people that have questions, especially JavaScript related things. So thank you so much for that. I've been doing software .NET development since about 2012. I've been doing software-ish type things since about 1996. Starting with VB6. Yes. Actually, starting with BASIC back in the 80s when my dad had a Commodore 64, but that wasn't like for real, for real. Oh my goodness, Dukasoft, you're so nice. So cool. Thank you so much for gifting that sub again. But yeah, the issue with me, so my biggest pitfall, the thing that probably makes people look at me like you're not very well versed in software, is because the primary place that I was working was in an HR office as an HR specialist, even though it was in the field of information systems. So I was doing their data processing, writing the scripts, VBA scripts for doing Excel macros and stuff. Then it moved to Access, and then I was working on one of DoD's primary applications. Yeah, VBA. Then it was working on one of DoD's primary applications, the system that they use to store all of the position descriptions for every possible position you can have across the Department of Defense, at least for Department of the Army and Air Force. So I added some functionality to that, and that was ASP Classic, and that's when I started picking up .NET. That was around 2009, but it was ASP Classic, not ASP.NET. So then the second time I went there, which was 2012, it was upgraded to ASP.NET by that time. And then I didn't officially get a software development job by title until 2017. You also started programming some 20 years ago? Like you started programming at DoD? Because that's cool. Oh, in VBA. Yeah, and it was so much fun though. Like learning the techniques so that you don't actually render on every single cycle. Like two of the main techniques that I picked up that I absolutely love that just made all of my macros faster were, I can't remember the name of the functions at the moment, but it was pretty much don't redraw when you're going through this, only redraw at the very end or when I tell you to. Um, application dot no something something something. Um, and then the other one was instead of like moving the selected cell every time, screen updating equals false. That's exactly it. Instead of moving from cell to cell, uh, you would do dot offset from whatever cell you currently select, and then use that as your reference point, and use like I as your row offset or whatever your iterator is. And that just like made everything go super duper fast. So when when the people that I was working with needed some data, and I would just open my Excel workbook, import my, or I would have all of my macros imported into the personal workbook. So I would have them with me, and then I would push a button and I'd have the accumulated data. I'm sure there were Excel-y ways to do it, like pivot tables, but most of the time I would create a pivot table and then analyze that data and then put it into another, reformat into another source or another style, and then give that back to them in like 15, 30 minutes. They were like, what? So automation was my passion forever. Ghost Ninja is saying, I have a deep appreciation for VBA. I think it was a great place to start programming. I do too. Because of VBA, though, um, with ASP, the ASP Classic app that I was working on, um, that was also written in VB. So it was a web forms project written in VB on ASP Classic, which, yeah. Anyway, so that was, I fell in love with VB, and I couldn't let go of VB for the longest time. Um, all of my desktop application experience was in VB6. Um, and yeah, well, except for Java during university, but that was academic. So my real world experience came from that. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. 2014, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start using C Sharp. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to see what this .NET Core thing is. Actually, it was still .NET Framework in 2014, I believe. I don't think .NET Core came out until 2000. Not gonna name a date because I can't remember. Um, but then after playing with C Sharp for a while, I'm like, how did I ever want to use anything else? And now I'm just absolutely in love with the C Sharp programming language. I'm pretty well versed in other programming languages, but I just have a strong preference for C Sharp. It's been said before, it's just an elegant programming language. It looks nice. It's easy to pick up, easy to use. So, anyway. Zultralord says C Sharp is the way. Dukasoft said QBasic for around 2 months, then VB6 in 2019. I started learning C Sharp and ASP.NET. Oh, wait. Sorry. QBasic for around 2 months, then VB6, and then in 2019, I started learning C Sharp and ASP. Awesome. No programming skill for me. Yeah, I don't know that university really taught me how to write software or do programming. Like the main thing I took away from university was work ethic, determination to finish a thing that I started. So increasing my integrity that I already have a natural affinity to. Uh, One might call it an OCD draw too. Um, but anyway, and then also database structures. That's like the the entire topic that I paid the most attention to was database structures. But then I ran into tuple calculus, and I was like, what am I doing here? I'm not smart enough for this stuff. Ghost Ninja says, so the reason I even asked if you had professional experience is because of the question you asked the interview. If I were to move on to further interviews, do you have any advice for me? To me, since you're a professional, I would recommend not asking questions like that. I feel it might make people feel that you are not very confident. You have tons of experience. You got this. I kind of went the other way with it. Um, and this is probably terrible to admit, I purposefully asked the question to give off to show humility. I think that's how I'll word it. To be like, I think I did well. Because, like, she asked me, how do you think you did? And I said, I think I did well. There were some times that I know that I felt very anxious and I said it out loud. But were there any things that you noticed that I could have done differently or could improve if I'm given the opportunity to move on to future? And using that phrasing, that positive phrasing, um, is one of the things that they're looking for. So I was trying to find an opportunity to use that phrasing, I guess. But really, I am like, I'm not confident that Google is the right fit for me because I'm so far into .NET. And it's so weird to say that because I dreamt of being a Googler since maybe I was 10 years old or something. I don't know, was Google around in 1992? Probably not. Um, so for a long time, um, I dreamt of working for big tech, and Google was that big tech company that I wanted to work for that I thought would drive uh, the direction of technology. And I wanted to be a part of shaping what technology looks like in the future, and I still do. Um, so now that I'm given the opportunity to potentially be employed at Google, it's like I would really want to work for Microsoft right now. But saying that, I would still not pass up an opportunity to work at Google if the project is something that I believe in, you know? It's just weird. I never would have dreamt that I have the potential to turn down a position, an opportunity at Google. So weird. Anyway, so thank you for the congrats, Ghost Ninja, and thanks for being here. You definitely don't have to like be super active or anything. There are no expectations placed on you, so feel free to talk as much or as little as you want. Um, but we'll be here. So we're gonna hop into the project that we've been working on for the past week. The past 7 streams? We've really been doing this for 7 streams? That's crazy. Um, oh man, and I wanted to invite someone that was uh, at the Maui YouTube or the Maui Blazor Hybrid stream. They were on YouTube for that, but I wanted to invite them to the stream. I just didn't want to do it in chat on YouTube because that's not the right place for that. I wasn't trying to be self-promoting or anything, but they had a question, and in case they happen to find my stream posted on YouTube in the future, They had a question about their CSS not applying in a Blazor Hybrid app. So I wanted to bring that up real quick. It's a very white screen. I wish Whiteboard had a dark mode. Do you have a dark mode? I never actually checked. Format background, black background. That's not a black background. Oh, it's probably because it's hovered. And now how do I change all of my textuses? All of my objects that are already on here. I don't know if I can do that. I'll figure out how to do it. But for now, oh, wait. It actually selected everything. Oh, poop. I did Control A, it just wasn't doing anything, and I didn't realize that it was because it was frozen. All right, I'm gonna Control A, give it an hour, and then I'll see if I can change the pen color. If you need the Blackboard DLC for that. No, it deselected everything when I tried to change the color. Yeah, it's deselecting everything every single time I change the color. Okay, so what we'll do is after we're done with this portion of our design, we'll switch to a new whiteboard and make it a blackboard. Oh my goodness. They need that application, that screen updating equals false. Oh, dead. Okay, real quick though, we're gonna switch back over to that Maui theming project that we did where we were trying to customize the title bar. Because I would like to show for the YouTube video that I post tomorrow. So this stream is going to be posted on YouTube tomorrow after tomorrow's stream because it needs to stay exclusive to Twitch for 24 hours, blah, 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 blah. But so the person was asking about CSS not applying to their running Blazor app. But it is working in their Blazor web. I think that's the wrong one. Oh yeah. I'm trying not to dance to the music because there's no music currently on the YouTube videos, and even if I did go back and fill in music, I'd be dancing to this offbeat. So this application real quick is super duper complex now. It used to be super duper simple. But it's just the Maui Blazor template, Maui Blazor Hybrid template. Simple, just sing along. This word has no songs, and I don't has no songs, has no word. This song has no. Oh my goodness, never mind. I'm dropping that because I can't. Um, we have the standard Maui Blazor Hybrid template. And I just added a themer. So my themer is able to change colors or it's supposed to be able to change the colors of the title bar, of the border, of anything that I want to control in the window when we're running on Windows. And then eventually on Mac when we were running on Mac, but I am currently stuck on that, so I've been asking a lot about it. But anyway, point is, we have a Razor class library, actually we have multiple, but a Razor class library that has CSS defined in the Razor class library. Shared components. I can read. So we have this app.css, and we also have isolated CSS on some of the components. For example, main layout having an isolated CSS file. So in the Blazor Hybrid application in index.html, which can be anything.html as long as, yes, that's right. So the generated watermark is because I am, sorry, Ghost Ninja stated, for those of you that can't see the chat, Ghost Ninja stated that I like that generated watermark. And that's happening because I write all of my CSS in Sass. And then I compile it down to CSS and min.css. I love Sass. But so this HTML file can be any HTML file you want as long as you provide it as the host page for your Blazor WebView component. Which means you can have multiple HTML files with different things imported. So let's say that I wanted a different set of CSS or different JavaScript functions or whatever I want imported in my index.html for the usage of a particular component. In this case, we're going to use the main component, and this happens to be the main component from Blazor UI. So from that, in our index.html in the Blazor Hybrid app, that's where I am importing using the standard way that you would do it for any other Blazor app that has a separate Razor class library that has CSS that you want to import, using this underscore content slash whatever the project name is slash from www root the resource that you're trying to import or link. And in this case, here's Bootstrap, here's app, here's Mozilla. And so that is specific to this app.css and this bootstrap.min. And so they were having an issue with their CSS not applying when they're running the Blazor app, but Blazor Hybrid and Maui app, but it is working with their web version. So just to prove that it does work, I am running the app targeting Windows. Actually, no, I'm not. What? This is one of those things where you step away from the code for a long time, don't make any changes to it, come back to it, and now it doesn't run. Not sure why it's not running. So I'm doing .NET clean, .NET restore. And then building. I don't know what the command line switches are to build targeting windows. That's why I'm just using Visual Studio's build. If I were better, I would figure out what those are. Why isn't this resolving? Why isn't that resolving? Come on. Come on, Roslyn. Hello, Disco. Happy Thursday to you. By the way, today is Thursday, July 28th. Don't know if you knew. Oh, hey, you know what? I don't have my bottom scroll going because I was using my OBS as a virtual camera. So let's pop it right up there. Hello. And I guess I'm not really using Visual Studio 2022 preview for the actual project anymore. I was using Visual Studio 2022 preview for the Maui project. So anyway, I have no idea why I'm not building anymore, and I don't want to debug this app. But actually, you know what would work? Oh, wait. I have changes. I have changes. I can't even. I have a lot of changes. Oh. All right, let's stage those. Excuse me, can you guys stage? Arigato. I'm going to switch over to master. I said not stage, stash. I meant stash. I really did. We'll just let this thing stash it for me. Okay, we switch over to master, try a build. It built successfully. I'm running the app targeting Windows. Bingo. And here we can see that I have breakpoint set. Here we can see that I have CSS applied to the Blazor component that is running inside of a Maui application inside of a Blazor WebView control. Something to keep in mind. Oingo bingo. Oingo boingo. Hello, DC Aggie. It's been a minute. Hope you're doing well. But this is just proof essentially that I can apply CSS at runtime even inside of my Razor class library that is the Blazor UI for a Maui application. So this is a native desktop application running HTML inside of a Blazor WebView component. So the thing that I wanted to say to keep in mind is we're not going out to the internet. We're not spinning up a server and saying, serve these pages from your server. You were blinked away for a while, and it's nice to be back. It's nice to have you back. So the only thing that is WebView about this is you're able to get HTML rendered inside of a control and it looks like controls on a page. It's not necessarily that you're going out to the internet performing HTTP requests, getting a HTTP response, etc. You're not getting this from a server. That's what I'm trying to say. You're getting it directly from the Blazor WebView component. Cool. Cool. And of course, the HTML is being generated from the .NET runtime, full .NET runtime. So your Razor classes, your Razor components that are turned into classes are being processed. Is that a good word? Yeah, it still gets converted from Razor to C# as classes, as binaries. And then that is then whatever the Razor component model, the thing that turns it from Razor into HTML that can be rendered onto a page, that is what's generating the HTML. But that is all native.NET stuff. It's not server related technologies. But yeah, you can tell that it's just regular HTML because I can F12 on the Blazor WebView content. And so it looks just like a HTML web page being served from a server, but it's just running locally in this control. And if I make a change, gonna make a change. I should probably not do that. Actually, let's look at body here. If I make a change, a little lower, then you will see that the HTML gets updated, but there's still nothing C# about what's inside of here other than the underlying engine is just doing C# stuff and then generating HTML to be interpreted by the Blazor WebView. Yay. Okay, so that was just proof that CSS can be imported from your Razor class library to affect your Blazor components. You just have to make sure that you're modifying the right HTML file related to your Blazor Web View control in your Maui app. Questions? Comments? I guess the other thing I didn't ask, which it wouldn't even build if this wasn't the case, but I didn't ask the person if they were referencing the Razor class library from the Maui app. Okay, so that's back to Maui. Now let's get back to our project. So our project has been a financial management tracker project that we're just doing for fun. We're learning from it. We are going to do this whole project together. If you have input on it, I don't want it to be super complicated. So if it's input that just kind of seems like we're trying to be too advanced up front, I kind of either will mark it as a back burner item or maybe just not take the advice. But I don't mean any offense by not taking a suggestion. But naming things, yeah, I'm open for being able to name things because naming things is hard. But the financial management tracker app will be available on GitHub. So if you have been following the series, if you are here live, you will know that it is on github.com/unoleon, unleon, one lion, which is pronounced one lion. The one is silent. Which one? Anyway, financial management. And so this is pretty much the description of what I want this app to do, at least up front. This may change as we make progress. You know what? I knew I was going to do that. Interrupting myself. I need to switch branches back to the other branch and unstash those changes. Because I'm going to forget. It's going to be a while before I come back to this theming example app. But I intend to figure out how to do the title bar stuff. I did have the opportunity to ask, hello? What happened to all of my stash changes? Did all of my stash changes... I think all of my stash changes applied to master when I switched to master. Someone looted the stash. There's nothing in here anymore. Oh, okay, it's back. I don't know why it didn't show up. All right. There we go. Stash changes are back in my current branch. That was scary. That was really scary. But anyway, okay, so this is what I'm intending to do with the app, subject to change as we make progress on it. But what I really, really wanted to do with this app is do all of the design stuff, all of the things that I believe are good approaches to designing the app before we actually write the app. I also want to try, because I don't have very much experience with it, try test-driven development for all of the back-end code. But the first thing that we did on day one was talk about the requirements of the app. The second thing we did was talked about the structure of the main application. I don't know why I went into and started creating the main application. Looking back, I probably still should have waited for this one, but I just wanted to create the GitHub repo and at the same time just establish the basic structure of my app. So we talked about that. The next thing we did was we talked about what database entities we would want to fulfill those requirements that the app is going to do. We drew an ER diagram by hand, not using any tools like Figma or anything that can create UML diagrams for us. Then yesterday, and maybe the day before, we talked about what screens we wanted. Oh, no. And then we actually implemented the database design. So we did a code first approach to creating the database models. We created the database models, the database context, and then we created some migrations. That was a 2-day process of creating the migrations. Creating the database project. We checked that in, and now we're back on master. I said master. And we designed the UI yesterday. You haven't watched yesterday yet? Then I can't continue Dukasoft. I'll wait. We'll wait here while you watch the video from yesterday. Okay, done. That's how long it would take me. Anyway, I really do. I don't want to say this out loud, but I have a desire to go back and edit out the fluff content. So when I'm just talking with you guys, because that's a live experience. That's for you guys and me to enjoy. I want the YouTube videos to just be like, here's the actual content of the work being done. But that sounds like a lot of editing, which I'm not super excited about doing. So anyway, yesterday we designed the UI, came up with a few screens that we might have for the user to interact with the application. We decided to go with the UI first instead of going with functionality and backend first, because in creating the UI, we might have more ideas on what kind of functionality we will want in the backend. But it would be, I mean, I don't find it to be a negative thing or a positive thing going either way. It's just however you happen to think about it and what works for your process. Thank you so much, Speed, WPS Speed, for the follow. Glad to have you here. This is the Daily Code Fun. So I think today we are ready over the next hour. That was already an hour? Good grief, I talk a lot. Over the next hour, we're going to put together some of the UI. This is my Figma sketch. No, just handwriting. So we're going to put this together in our Blazor app. So first thing that I want to do is create a new branch. That is sketching UI. Hello, Epic of Sam. Welcome in. More amazing people showing up. I don't think I have that one. That one didn't turn into an emote for me. I want to see Fell of One play T log. Oh, it's laugh. Okay. Good vibes. Good vibes. Awesome. I love those. Anyway, Epic of Sam, another fantastic streamer. If you get the opportunity, check her out. Check them out. Check. What is your pronoun? Can I ask you that? Starting soonish. Where's the TM? I'm a she. Don't correct anyone if they call me a dude or anything. That's cool. I was hoping for soonish. I do S star star N because, you know, soon is a bad word that should be censored. find it funny to catch them off guard. Yeah. So I'm creating a branch, but yeah, definitely check out Epic of Sam. Fun times, good streams, fantastic days. Actually, I have no idea what's going on currently. Um, do you have a normal schedule, or do you just stream whenever you feel like it? Today and Sunday. What time today? I mean, how long from now? Because time is relative. I'll do the conversions for you. Wait, that still makes you have to do math. Maths? I'm lost. What are we doing? We're doing UI. Okay, so I created the branch while I'm waiting for an answer. 5.5 to 6 hours from now, and that would be 7:30 or 8 o'clock. I can't do maths. 6:30 or 7 o'clock my time, which is UTC minus 6. Today is Thursday for those of you in the future watching this. And it sounds like Epic of Sam streams on Thursdays and Sundays, sometime around 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Coolness. And what are you doing tonight? Or whatever time it happens to be for you. And if I'm asking you too many questions, you are not obligated to answer. If you're busy doing other stuff and you just want to lurk and have a good time, nice, relaxed stream, please don't bother answering. Just be relaxed. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. I don't want to ask too many questions, man. Okay. Páginas. Whoa, 3 a.m. local time to do a soft. No worries. I like to answer. I appreciate you telling me it's okay to be a slacker, though. Um, I don't know. So I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been wondering whether I should put my pages in a separate Razor class library and my components in a separate Razor class library. So like I would have and actually, you know what? I'm just gonna put my pages in here in the root. But I will add a new Razor class library, and it's going to be my shared components. And so these are going to be things that are not necessarily specific to the content of this app. It could be stuff that I might want to reuse in other apps. For example, my Blazor component library, except I would do it here in line. And the approach that I would normally take is to set this up so that when I build it, it generates a NuGet package and I import that NuGet package into my project. But I also want you to be able to see this shared components library as we create components. So we're doing everything from scratch, I hope. But Epic of Sam says, I'm not sure totally what I'm doing today. Normally it's Gems of War, Wingspan, or Dead Grid. I might do Ark though. You do Ark? That's cool. Ark Survival? Is that the name of the game? I'm terrible at this. You know what I might do tonight? What I might do. What is this inflection? You know what I might do tonight? I'm going to play a game called Microsoft Learn. Oh man, I am getting pretty burnt out from Microsoft Learn courses. Oh. But I'm preparing for one of the certifications, and I think I'm going to take the exam in September. unless circumstances happen. Then I'll just take it whenever I have the opportunity to. Sounds like a great time. Thanks, Epic of Sam. Uh, um, and Dan. And hello, Ziltra Lord. I hope it's a fantastic day for you too. You know what? I woke up this morning and there was thunder and lightning and some pitter patter rain, and it was so nice. I did not want to get out of bed. And last night there was still thunder and lightning. Such good times. Such good times. I miss the rain so much. I am the Good Vibes Ambassador. Self-appointed is the best appointment. Yes, self-appointment is the best appointment. Well, I accept your self-appointment and I second you for ambassador, even though you're already ambassador because you're self-appointed. But still, you know who should be on your cabinet, though? This person that I just met a couple days ago, or however recent it was, Epic of Sam. She's great. Dusov says, it's really great to hear the thoughts of the structuring of a project, something I don't learn from beginner tutorials. I like to be supported. Yes. All right. We will create some pages, I promise. After doing some cleanup. Whoa, why does that sound like my headphones are in you know what? They probably are. Oh my goodness, they are. They're in what is it called? Communication mode, communication device. No, you're good. You are definitely okay. Definitely feel free to distract. I'm not in a hurry. Once again, the thing that I would want to do in the future is just to trim down all of the fun times that I have with stream, because I'm here for you guys. I'm here to hang out with you and have fun. And also, I like to teach. I like to, it's not necessarily teaching, it's more passing on the knowledge that I have, and you are allowed to say, I agree with that or I disagree with that. Yeah. Oops. Awesome. Good to hear. Good to hear, Epic of Sam. Dukasov says, they are in ear mode. Am I? That's interesting. Well, thank you for the compliment. I hope that I don't. My laugh can get loud though. If I laugh and it's, spontaneous and it's not something that I am aware of because it's genuine, it's pretty obnoxious. At least in my opinion. Is that in your opinion? Epic of Sam says, my laugh is the same. Doubtful. Doubtful. I bet yours has a different timbre and a different pitch. And do you get it? Okay. Moving on. Moving on. Let's create some pages. The pages that we know we're going to want from our design. So I'm going to be referencing the design just on the screen over here. Are payment entry, transfer entry. See, I can't make the window bigger. Entry. Why can't I grab onto the left border? There you go. And deposit and transaction history. Okay, so we got 4 pages to create. DC Aggie said, thank you for listening to KODE, your home for smooth C#. Nice. I'd tune in for that, says Epic of Sam. All right, Control A, entry, and payment. Naming things is hard, am I right? Payment entry is what I'm going to call it. Oops, did I just? So I accidentally clicked that. I didn't mean to. I was trying to dismiss another message, but I guess I greeted you. Thanks for hopping into Discord. Payment entry, transfer page, which is just going to be called transfer entry to be consistent. Deposit entry. Dentist entry is what I was going to put. And finally, transaction history. Cool. So those are our primary pages. I may as well put routes on these. So everything in Blazor that is a .razor is a Blazor component. However, you can also add a thing called routable components by putting the page attribute on. This is really distracting. That needs to go away. I was on my homepage on Twitch, and I don't know if you know. They have like videos that autoplay at the top. Unless you scroll down, then they pause. And so there was a video going on for Fall Guys, and Fall Guys is really distracting. Hello, Seagal. The database that we're using currently is SQL Server, but you can use any database you want. Although some of the queries that I use, or some of the link statements that I use, will not be able to get translated into NoSQL database things. So like if you use the Cosmos DB, provider. Gosh, I was like, I can't think of the word. If you don't know, or if you use the Cosmos DB provider when you're doing your database stuff, you are not going to be able to use things like singular default or .include or anything that is relational database related. And so the next question is, where do you host your DB? Currently, it's not going to be hosted anywhere. It's going to be, well, lies. It's going to be hosted on my computer. That's not it. Database. So currently, I have my app settings set to use LocalDB, MS SQL LocalDB, which I believe is SQL Express. It's LocalDB, okay? LocalDB. And I'm allowed to show this because I don't really have any secrets, but I don't recommend doing this on stream if you're doing a for real app. I'm using I installed SQL Server Developer Edition on this machine, which is why I'm able to use Dot, and I created an instance called Angie SQL. And this is my development machine, and that's why I don't mind showing this off. So yeah, so right now it's all local, not hosted anywhere. However, things that I have done in the past is I've used AWS, so they have an RDS PaaS, PaaS, platform as a service, and they have full-on EC2 instances, which is you use essentially infrastructure as a service. And then you could put SQL Server on there if you have licenses to be able to use it on virtual machines. And there's also the option to use Azure. They have Azure SQL something or other that you can host your database on. And then, of course, you always have the option of taking some spare computer or maybe the computer that you're running everything else on and turn it into a server by opening ports and exposing it to the internet, which sounds scary, but I've done it. For Azure, it's about 20 bucks. 20 bucks what? 20 bucks a month plus RU? 20 bucks per RU? 20 bucks a year? Because 20 bucks a year would be nice. But I am doing all of the Azure courses and stuff, so I'll figure it out. We may eventually change our API into Azure Functions just to see how that works. Use Azure AD, do all of the Microsoft E related things for hosting, and then have another version where we use a different host. Maybe we deploy it to AWS using Elastic Beanstalk, maybe. And that's per month for Postgres. I always mess up my Azure instance selection and wind up owing 400. It's happened twice now. Oh no. Ouch. But yeah, so that's where my database is. My database. And yes, I consistently say daddy base. Wait, no, I don't. Stop that, you. I'm not going to set any of those. Oh, actually, yes, I am. I'm going to set my API as my startup project. Where's the API? Starts with an A, rhymes with PI. I don't see my API. What? Now, hold on a minute. Oh, I didn't rename it to API? That's interesting. Because this is not a Blazor Hybrid app yet. Oh my gosh. Okay. So if I was going to turn this into a Blazor Hybrid app, I would have a separate API project. When you create a Blazor WebAssembly project that has hosted, so hosted Blazor WebAssembly project, you get pretty much an API project for free. And that is what actually starts up your client project. But what I experimented with when I was doing a Blazor Hybrid app was creating a separate .NET Web API project, a Blazor WebAssembly client-only project, and a Blazor server project. Both of these having a HTTP client that was authorized using, not authorized, it was allowed to make requests to the API using cores. And so that way my Maui app would also be able to have a HTTP client that could make the same request to the same HTTP server, to the same API. That's what I mean to say. And then I could also have a separate Azure Functions project next to it. Yeah. But for now, we still just have this one server project that came with my Blazor WebAssembly project. And then my server only doesn't have a HTTP client currently. But that's okay. And then, and then. So what we're going to do is cd into the Blazor web. Blazor wasm into the server project. And we're going to start that up. I've been trying to put the page directive on all of these while we're waiting. I don't know that I want to call the page deposits because deposits almost sounds like we're going to see a list of deposits that we have made. But it will also have the deposit data entry right above it, so why not? Let's just call it that. And then we'll have a payments page. You know what we don't have? An index page. So how did this load something that looks like index.raise? Oh, I didn't do that either yet. There's still more setup that we need in order for this UI to do what we want it to do. So let's knock that out of the way. Let's finish putting these page directives on each of these. Transactions. And again, this is just sketching them out. We're not trying to make it super pretty. We're not trying to get all of the possible things that we could do on it set up, we're just going to sketch out the basic UI. So one thing is I have my index.razor. Why isn't this working? Opens class to do. It was kind of like the shout out that we had for Irish John Games. What was it, yesterday? Oh, it was the best. I loved it so much. He opened up his class because he was like, why isn't this working? He opened up his class, and in there he has a note from past self. This isn't tested. F you. And so he was cursing out his past self. It was great. It was so good. I almost died laughing. If you missed it, you can see it on the VOD. I did it. I promoted a VOD once per stream. Let's make that a thing. Okay. Anyway, I got rid of index.razor because I want all of my pages and all of my components to be in this separate library. That way it can be used on both Blazor server and Blazor WebAssembly. Doesn't matter which one I decide to run. That should have broken this. I don't know why it didn't. Oh, probably because I did set this up. I didn't. Why is that still working? That really should not be working. And that also means that I want to get rid of index.razor from here because they're both going to use the same index.razor. The other thing that I would like to do is point my app.razor to use also the layout and nav menu from that shared library. I should have kept one of those. That's okay. We're recreating that anyway. Dang it, I should have kept one of those. Come back. Come back. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So I'll put that in my component library. And that means that in app.razor, this main layout doesn't exist anymore. So the main layout that we're actually wanting to point to is the main layout from our shared component library. And the easiest way for me to do that, actually not the easiest, a way for me to do that is to add that using statement for the shared from Blazor or FineMan Blazor UI. No, is one of you guys spelled incorrectly? Yes. Excuse me. Excuse me. Who? 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 No way. Ugh. Why didn't you guys tell me? Thankfully, I don't have very many objects. Actually, I only have one object in here that needs to be rename spaced. So that spelling error is not that bad. Renaming the project here is good enough to update it everywhere. Okay. So FineMan dot server no, we are doing FineMan dot Blazor UI dot shared because we are wanting this main layout. So now if we go look at our app.razor for server only, we will see that it has resolved what this main layout is as fineandman.blazorui.share.main layout. So that would work. Oh, except we also need to do that in Blazor Wasm. Okay, so Blazor Wasm, we also have that. That would work, except we're still going to run into an issue. Can anyone see what the issue might be? Take a look at what items I have inside of my fineandman.client project, which is the Blazor Wasm version. I have app.razor, I have imports.razor. In program.cs, it says use app.razor as the thing that starts up. App.razor says, give me all routable pages from this assembly. Use main layout as the starting layout, or as the default layout. And by default, route to slash. Class. Class, does anyone know? Does anyone know what the issue could be? Let me show what the error is. The error is the app is not running. Good one. Try again. Buying these pills for a friend. I haven't done that one for a while. Coffee is missing. Oh, take us off. Don't give away the answer. It says, sorry, there is nothing at this address. But it's like, yeah, there is. I have an index page at route slash. Does anyone know why that might be? That it's telling me there is no / that page. What if we tried one of these other pages, like payments? Sorry, there's nothing at this page. But there is. It's right here. I should see payments. I'm sure someone is already typing this or wants to type it, but it's too many words. Oh, no, you're good, Abaddis. So the way that the router component works in Blazor is it takes the assemblies that have routable components and turns those into pages that we can search for using this @page attribute. We don't have any way for this router to know that the pages are currently in this external Razor class library. Yeah, I'm sure I've seen this before in one of your other projects. Yep, I use this all the time. And so what we can do is, if we plan on having routable components inside of this project by itself, app assembly is going to be type of this project's app.razor. And if we're going to have routable pages in an external component library, we would need to add additional assemblies. So in this case, we're adding a new array of, that needs to be in quotation marks because there's a space. And this doesn't need an @ So I don't know why they haven't updated this template yet. The @ symbol isn't required anymore, nor are the quotation marks when you're setting a parameter that is typed, because the new Razor I can't think of what it's called, will be able to determine the type and associate it correctly. But yes, the additional assemblies, so we need to tell it type of main layout. So this is coming from that library, and that's why I am using main layout.assembly. And so now Blazor will scan this project and see, are there any routable pages in there? If there are, then when the user tries to route to them, then provide that page as the component that's being loaded. And so now we can go to home. We can go to none of the other pages because I don't have them in my nav. But we can go to payments. We can go to transfers. Sorry, there is nothing at this address. Transfer. What? So anyway, that's all that we needed to add in order for it to work correctly for us. I really don't like this thing. I understand what they were trying to do here. So focus on navigate into the H1. It does not make sense to select the first H1 on the page because it gets this outline on it, and I don't really understand why that is the default in the template. Like currently, I think all of these pages have H3s. No, they're H1s. Oh, they're H3s, sorry. So if I did them as H3s, and I haven't applied any styles to anything, we're going to see that it gets this outline because it's selected. Why? I don't know. Okay, so I also need to apply this to server. So lazy. So lazy. Shouldn't they technically be H2s? I really don't know. They kind of are the full page header, but they're not going to be there, so it doesn't really matter. It does make sense to have them as H1s because they are the title of the entire page, the main header of the entire page. And it would have a hero section and this cool background and these image effects and parallax as you scroll down. But yeah, we'll get to that. We will design a fantastic landing page. It's going to be great. We're going to do awesome. Shifty eyes. I mean, again, these are the full page headers, so they should be H3s, H1s. I want it to go away. How do I make it go away? You can't. You have to style it. All right, so let's throw some controls on these pages before I run out of time. 45 minutes. 40 minutes. So once again, I'm looking at this as I am throwing these controls on the page. So this is how I like to put pages together. Again, your approach may be entirely different, but I don't really think about the styling of a page as much as I think about the layout of the controls. With that said, I am also kind of thinking about how are those controls grouped together so that when I'm trying to style, I can use CSS Voodoo to make them appear the way that they're supposed to appear on the page. So for the payment entry page, let's make a H1 that says enter payment details. As I said, they're going away. They will eventually go away. Oh, right. There is one other consideration that I make, and that is I am most likely going to be using isolated CSS for styling each page. An issue with using isolated CSS is that if you use a component directly on the page, so let's say that I am also going to have a deposit entry on this page for whatever reason, I cannot override styles in this deposit entry unless I use the : deep syntax that can only be used on Razor .razor.cs files, which is the isolated CSS. So let's say that there's a H3 inside of deposit entry and I wanted to style that. I would target : deep. Actually, let's just go ahead and create the payment entry Razor CSS, isolated CSS file. And I want it to target : deep H3. And I want those to be Gween. I don't have any other way to get to it because I didn't add it to my payments. Plural. Okay, so here's my deposit entry, and you can see that this H3 tag is not Gween. There is nothing applying Gween to it. But as soon as I put that inside of a container so that it's not at the root of the component, the parent component, then it's not going to apply because my isolated CSS is not applying just yet. Let me undo this so that we can prove it. I need to stop and restart the app. So I don't know what it is about adding an isolated CSS file that makes it to where you have to stop and restart the app for it to compile correctly. It's also possible that I'm not importing my isolated CSS file. No, I am. It was right there. This line here. CSS styling is weird when coming from the WinForms way of styling, says Dukasoft. Okay, so there, it is not Gwen, but as soon as I put it inside of a container, then it turns Gwen. And that's because : deep cannot target child components that are at the root level of the component. And so what I have been in practice doing is surrounding the entire content of this component, if I know that I'm going to be using, or actually just doing it in general, surrounding the entire contents of the component with a div class page content or something. Just some basic styles that I would have on every page. And that way, if I do end up using another child component inside of it, and I want to override the CSS for that child, then I can use : deep in my isolated CSS file. Good times. So yeah, the takeaway from that is : deep will not work to target an element of a child component unless that child component is in at least one container element. Yeah, I'll let that sink in. Actually, I won't. I'm going to continue on. So our enter payment details. Here's something that I know is going to appear on this page. Ooh. What do you say? Amount, date, description, category. Not quite, because we also want to payee. Do you have any others? It doesn't. Oh, it does. It has 2 suggestions for me, and neither of them are really the one that I want. Close. Close code pilot. Not quite. The other question that I want to ask myself, and maybe you guys if you want to weigh in, is should I use the native Blazor components that we get with the framework? So for example, should I use an edit form? Model? It is model, right? Or should I use the thing that I have been using my entire time using Blazor, and that is just create my form using HTML, making the submit button just a regular button. So this would have things like an input text for, I don't know, the memo when we get there. So input text, it would have an input date. So I'm using the built-in Blazor controls that we get out of the box. And I'm calling them controls because Maui. But anyway, they're Blazor components that we get. The alternative is I make my own div. And I'll call it entry form or something. And I'll use native HTML elements. So input type text, and then use @bind and all of that stuff. Input type date. Same thing here, @bind. And then my submit button here would be, does it actually have a submit button? I didn't think so. It'd still be a button, unless there's like an input submit. I've never really used the submit portion of this, but we would have a button type submit, buzzbit. And then we would have our validation for free with this, data annotations validator, provided we use data annotations on our model that's going to be driving the input for this. And we can have an on submit, we can have an on valid submit, we can have an on invalid submit. We could do all of those fantastic things by using the Blazor native control component. Zoltra Alert says be as blazorly as possible in my opinion. Cool. And this one here would be kind of different. This one here would be button type button, not a submit button. And then it would have an on-click handler, handle submit. And we would do our validation inside of this thing here, and then manually provide our validation output here. So I have a vote for be as blazorly as possible, which is one more vote than I usually get. And then I just have follow-up questions, which is cool. So it sounds like there's a vote for this, and I'm not against this at all. If I run into an issue, so I've ran into issues with using an edit form before, but I can't remember what they were. I think it was maybe limitations on the binding and being able to use custom events. But I think that these components have improved a lot since the last time I've used them. We even have things like input type number that will be constrained to a specific, like currency, for example. So let's do it that way. I have votes. The votes are in. They've been tallied, and we're going to go with be as blazorly as possible. So this form is going to need a model. And I want to create that model before creating these component. I keep wanting to call them elements. These components, because we're going to have a lot of errors otherwise. If we were doing it the div way, just creating our own divs and stuff, I could just put inputs there and then not have to worry about binding it to anything. They would just show up as inputs. So let's go ahead and create the payment details view model, or transaction view model. Payment view model. I like payment view model. We're running over to our shared library, the one that's going to hold all of our POCOs. So this is going to be a POCO except for the data annotations. I don't know if data annotations are part of the CLR, but if they are, then this would still be a POCO. The whole point behind POCOs is you're not using anything outside of the .NET standard library. Common language runtime. So, right. Probably want a folder for this. And this will be our data entry models. And this is going to be payment entry view model. Yeah, plain old CLR objects. All right. And so this is going to be the thing that holds all of the data that we are going to be inputting in through this form. So we see here that we're going to have a transaction date. The payee ID is what we're going to be tracking because the payees are going to come from a different view model. They're going to be a lookup list that we're just going to populate this dropdown with. The memo. And then this here is going to have its own view model. So line item, detail, and amount that we're about to add, that's going to have its own view model. But then the actual items that appear here is going to be a list of that view model. So then we need a list of that view model inside of our payment entry view model. We need the posted date, account ID. The total is just going to be the read-only accumulate the total amounts, the sum of amounts of the details. So this is going to be props date time And I'm going to make it a nullable date time, even though it's going to be a date only. I would use date only because we only care about the date on this form, but date only currently does not serialize when turning it into JSON and sending it as a HTTP request. So we would have to write a custom serializer, and I don't want to do that. Unless you really, really want to see it, then I'll struggle through it. Transaction date. We will have another one for posted date. Drink water. Oh. Thank you, Dupersoft. I think I will. Oh, such good water. Straight from the Rockies after moose and goats and deer and mountain lions and bears have been swimming in the Rocky River stuff. Somehow it became unappealing. Public int payee ID. Public string memob, which is nullable. Oh, right. You are also nullable because again, none of these are actually selected yet. When we first load this page, I don't want any of these to be pre-selected or pre-filled in. So I want to allow them to be null. And since I'm using nullability in this project, I need to specify the question mark on everything, including primitives, including custom classes that we make. So then we have a public, and I'm just going to use a list because I know that it's going to be a list of them. And this will be line item view model. Line items. And we'll create that object in a second. This will not be null. It will be, and actually we'll just make it get only. Does that, oh, get init. So when we serialize it, I also still want to be able to pre-populate it with the correct data. Then we have the public int account ID, which again, null by default. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and alphabetize these. I don't know why. I just have the urge to alphabetize them. I put that in the wrong place. So I was putting them kind of in the order that I want them to appear on the page, but I'm like, what if I want to move them around? Then I will just alphabetize them by property name instead. Cool. And then finally I said we're going to have the total, which is going to be a double. Oh, yeah, which is going to be a double total. And that's just going to be line items dot sum x dot amount, which we haven't created yet. I'm back. I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing for being back? Glad to have you back. You have nothing to apologize for. Epic of Sam was going and doing the vibing thing, and now she's apologizing for being back. Oh, because I left in the first place. That you can apologize for. We sorely missed your presence. I felt it. I felt it right here. Right in my tiger teeth. If you didn't know, this is a Walk the Moon shirt. If you guys haven't heard of I'm sure you've heard of Walk the Moon. The Shut Up and Dance With Me people. They did more songs than just Shut Up and Dance With Me. They did some really, really, really good songs. I think the first song of theirs that I heard was Anna Sun and instantly loved it. Then they have some kind of throwaway songs in my opinion, but a lot of their songs are really, really good. It almost looked like the cat skunk thing is running on beat. Wow, if you guys could see this, the little animated emote that Epic of Sam just put is on beat for me. Not anymore though. This song went crazy. Anyway, yes, line item type ID. How'd you know? How did this thing know that that's what I wanted? Yes, I do want the amount, but I also want string detail. Oh, you're so cool. Nullable. Nullable up front. Nullable. It's a squirrel. It's a black and white squirrel. Dukasoft said, "Are you back or are you sorry?" I'm Dukasoft. Epic of Sam said, "I have many names." Yes. I like that. Okay, we're almost done with this one model. So now we have our list of line items. I have no idea what I did there. Oh, yes. This is very, very important. So I'm allowing amount to be null, even though it's not. So amount is not allowed to be null, ever. But I want it to error if it is null. I want to be able to report back to the user that it's not allowed to be null. It is allowed to be 0. So let's say that you just had some line item that you wanted to enter for whatever reason, like you wanted to track a $0 amount or a 0 currency amount as a line item. You could do that. So yes, I do want it to be nullable. That means, though, that we only want to sum. We have two ways to do this. In our sum, we could default to 0 if it's null, or before even doing the sum, we could filter out null amounts. And we do that on a primitive by doing .hasValue, or on a struct even, by doing .hasValue. So we are saying we want all line items where amount is not null, it has a value, and we want to sum all of those amounts. Which we know is not going to be null by this point in time because we know, oh, right, no. We need to get the value back because otherwise we're getting back the nullable double. But still, why do I need a forgiveness operator when I'm doing the null check here? It doesn't know that yet. You will learn one day. You will learn one day. Now I'm wondering if this will default to 0 if line items doesn't have any items at all. I guess we'll find out, won't we? Okay, so that should be our model for this page, including for each line item. So let's throw some more elements on the page. Let's keep sketching this thing out quickly. So we now have an input date first. This is going to be a div class form group, which I don't think is a thing in Bootstrap anymore. But we're not even importing Bootstrap, so I'm calling it whatever I want. When you're on mobile, it's a bad idea to pick up the phone while crushing the power button. It's a bad idea to pick up the phone, period. I couldn't think of anything creative. I'm not witty. I tried, though. I tried really hard. Anyway, we're going to bind value to new payment. Oh, right. We actually need to define our new payment, which when we load the page, we're going to have a private payment entry view model, new payment, and we're going to initialize it to new. So this is going to bind to new payment dot transaction date. We're going to have an input type, input select, sorry. And we're going to bind the value that we get from this select list to the payee ID. Oh, wait, this goes in its own form group. We need a label. And so this label is going to be the transaction date label. Right. We will do this right after we finish with this because I want to get at least one page done before we end for the day. But we're going to need to add the data annotations to this. And then eventually, because we're going to have some complex rules, we're going to also want to add fluent validation. I love that library. It's great for being able to have conditional rules and write them in a very, very understandable way. It's great. It's easy. I turned the phone off because I moved it. And then she said I felt the effort. I tried really, really hard. Ghost Ninja 404 is just laughing. Dugasoft said, I hate it when that happens. Wit is a gift. It sure is, and I don't have it. I have different gifts, but wit is not among them. You know what is among us? A game. Anyway, do you feel the telepathy link being established? Oh, I will do my best to share mine with you, says Epic Sam. Do you feel the telepathy link being established? No. But I'm trying really, really. I'm kidding. I kid. P. So as a side note, I am, and this has nothing to do with anything, but I do believe that it is possible that we can share experiences with each other without words and without even seeing each other. You know. Okay, so this is one of the things that that I don't like about the controls, and I'm wondering if this is going to handle it better now, where I have a null value as my default so that it will say select payee when you first load the form, or when payee ID is emptied out after submitting a valid transaction. This has failed to select because value equals empty string is not a valid nullable numeric value, in this case a double, or in this case an int, is what I said. All right, so another thing that we'll want, another thing that we'll want is our lookup list. So one thing that I'm already thinking of ahead of time is for our lookup list, I made them all inherit from lookup list base, which is an implementation of an iLookup list. Where's my database? So, or iLookup item, sorry. iLookup item and lookup item base so that I can have the name, sort order, last updated, deleted information for all of them. And the other thing that so for all of them, period, the end, that's it. So I want, specifically, I'm going to want line item types, but for now, we're just going to use a list of iLookup item. Or not a list of iLookup item, sorry. List of lookup item view model is the thing that I want. Dang. It is going to be a list of iLookup item because some of them are going to have a type of int, some of them are going to have a type of their specific enum. So it's going to be a list of iLookup item. That sucks. And this specific list of iLookup item is going to be my cached list of all possible lookup items for the application that we're going to get sometime in the future. And it's going to filter it out to just my line item types. No. Do I really not have a reference to my models? So you have a reference to shared. Shared should have a reference to models, which, yeah, I guess it didn't until I just now gave shared a reference to models. Weird. Weird. All right. So anyway, private list, I look up items. It's going to be null up front because I want to do some loading magic. It might just be on my phone, but I wanted to let you know that some of the shoutout links aren't working. Rise of Piracy works. Soft as in software is no. Oh no, there's a period at the end. Oh no. So all of them that I have a period after the URL, it's treating the period as part of the URL. Thank you for letting me know. I'll fix that after the stream. Okay, so protected, override, async, task, uninitialized. So again, since we're just sketching, this is essentially how I'm going to do it, except instead of API client, this is going to be service. This is going to be my lookup list service or something. And it's going to be get list of items. Instead, what we're going to do for now is just have a static list of, and we're also going to simulate loading as well, by the way. So await task delay, let's say 2 seconds. So await, it equals a new list, which I don't need that because we can use C# 10, maybe C# 9. Yeah, I clicked on the link and it kept the period. So I don't know. Maybe the period isn't being picked up as a part of the link for you, Dukasoft. And we're going to create a couple of these. Oh, right. This actually needs to be a concrete item. So once again, I wouldn't be using the actual object from the database, the model from the database for this. But for now, I am just so that we can see something on the page. So I want to give it an ID of 1, name equals Wendy's, deleted as false, last updated, who cares, sort order, who cares. Actually, I care because, no, actually, I don't care. I don't care. So that's what that's going to be. And then we're going to have, let's say 2 more. We're going to have my favorite sorry, let me spell it the right way. My favorite grocery, since there's a U there must be a U here. Store. Am I spelling it right, people from the UK? And this is Wendy's, and this is, of course, Tacho's. Oh, wait. Tacho Bear. Which means that we can't use Wendy's. We need something creative. Someone come up with something creative. Wendy's? I don't know. I can't be creative right now. I feel rushed. I have 5 minutes. I'm rushing myself. Okay, so the reason that I want to do that is if you are not null, then this. What do Windies in? Which would be Findies in German. Four line item types in. You're close. You're close. And you're just going to be cur-lie type because lazy. As in. What even was this that you gave me, Copilot? Is this React? This looks like React. Store? Really? Looks strange. I'm not saying it's wrong though. Yeah, I thought that you guys put a U after every, or that, not you, that British people of culture, put a U after every O. Tell me about the German version of Wendy's. Is the food different? Yes. Yes, it is. Thank you for asking. But that's all the information that I can give you. So we have the payee list. We also have div class form group. And another thing that I'm thinking of is we're going to probably be placing all of these items in this edit form using a grid because I like grids. But for now, we have that. We have the memo. So we have a label, memo, div class, not div. What am I doing? Input text, bind value, bind value to at new payment. Actually, I think I'm supposed to be using context. Why aren't you letting me? So I thought that the edit form gets a context. So like if I use this in place of all of those, then that would be the instance that's being managed by this edit form, which is still, in this case, the same instance as this. I'm laughing at your pun too. Epic of Sam said, grid does keep things in line. Or grids do keep things in line. I get it. I think. Do I get it? I don't know if I get it. Why are you being weird? It's being super duper weird. Oh, because that's not the model. Interesting. Okay. So I guess I don't really know what context holds. It looks like it holds. Actually, I don't know what it holds. I'd have to explore that some more. Once again, I don't really use edit forms, but we will learn. I will learn. Memo. What else you got? Actually, why are you angry? Because iLookup item does not have an ID. iLookup item of some specific thing does. You know what? Screw it. I'm not going to play around with you. We're just going to do it like this. Because by the time we create our lookup service, what we are going to return for this is get lookup items, which is going to give me whatever my view model is for lookup items. So I will have my ID as an integer by that point in time. So for our mock, we're just going to use the actual lookup item type from the database. Cool. Okay, that would be the minnow. And now we need another select list for, wait. These were supposed to be payees. Whoops. which are just actual payees. Watch us end up keeping the database objects. I would cry at myself. Okay, you guys go up here. Actually, you know what? Let's just keep you there. You're my payees. I have new. Oops. Semicolon. Why aren't you reformatting? My duck. Okay. My line items are sum total, which in this case I do care about sort order. And this is going to be tax. For those of you that want to keep track of tax, and this is going to be tip. Database objects. No, you get a kick out of my pronunciation, don't you? My mispronunciation of database. Listen here, you. All right, I copied that, which means that I should be able to change these two to pays. Pasta you down here for my line item type. I put spaces. I sure did. We'll figure out what to call it. And you're actually just, yeah, line item type ID. Why don't you have a suggestion for that? Isn't that what I called it? I can't. F12 on you. Oh, oh, oh. Private line item view model. View line item. Okay, so that is actually going to be new line item dot line item type ID. Cool. I made you payees, payee. Those are the same. You're good to go. Okay. Detail. Just going to be one of these. Did you have an extra? Blech. Yeah. That says DL. New line item. Amount. Input number. There is no input number. Okay, so I just changed an input text to an input number with a min of, actually I don't want to put a min, I want to put a step of 0.01, which isn't going to be the same step depending on your locale. It's possible that there are no fractions of currency in your locale. So we'll want to keep track of that. The other thing would be our div class. And this is going to be our transaction details wrapper. And our transaction details is going to have, and I always struggle with this, we're going to go ahead and use a table, but this is probably going to end up being a grid. So table, not going to try too hard with it. T head, TR, th line item type, th detalle, th amount, and then a t body. T body. These are all going to be TDDs for test-driven developments. If not, yeah, we'll do it this way. So if not line item type, new line item. I really need to quit soon. I need to get back to studying, but this is too fun. We'll go until 30 after. So I'm giving myself 9 more minutes and then we'll quit. And then we'll pick this up again tomorrow. Tomorrow is just for those of you that can't stay for the rest of the time or don't feel like staying for the rest of the time. Tomorrow's Community Day, a day when I usually ask people if you have anything that you want to present to our community, our small community as it is, but our community nonetheless, then just let me know. Contact me on Discord, private message me, and we can set up a way for you to either come onto our Discord voice channel. I have a stream room that I usually use for our Discord voice channel, and you can present from there to the stream. So your voice will come through on the stream. If you share your screen, it'll come through once I figure out what the issue was with why it wasn't allowing you to share. But anyway, you'll be able to share your screen and talk about whatever topic it is. You can also just do podcast version, which is we just talk about a topic. And eventually, as the stream progresses, we usually just get more and more goofy, and then I eventually open up the stream voice channel for anyone that just wants to talk about what's going on with them, what's going on with your day. 3. No items added. Okay, so if there are no line item, no, this was supposed to be new, what's the other one? New transaction, new payment. Line items. This is not null, but this could be. So if we don't have any line items, we're going to display a row or a set of values that takes up an entire row. What are you angry about? Nothing. That's fake. A new row in this table that takes up the entire row, and it'll say no items added. Otherwise, we will loop through the list of line items. Line item in new payment dot line items and print out there curly dot. Oh, right. So this is going to be fun. The only thing we have here is the line item type, and we're going to want to get the actual line item description from our lookup. So that'll be fun. For now, I'm just going to cheese it because I'm running out of time. You have no idea. Line item types dot single, and I will guarantee that we're going to get one left. Curly dot name. Possible null reference, we know. We know that it's a possible null reference, but I'm kind of like guaranteeing that it's not going to be null. I have to figure out what's going on with that. Let's just sketch out the rest of this. Hello, proc testing. Time.download more. Yes, please. The last few things are not this. 1, 2, 3. And I don't know where to put the posted date really, but that's going to be one of them. So let's grab a date. And that goes here. Raisin it? No. This is going to be... I was going to copy it anyway. So this is actually going to be accounts though. Just going to get set here. Checking. Savings. Cheese. Coffee. You know what I'm forgetting? Increment, increment, increment. Increment. Cool. I still don't know why you're angry. I'm not missing any parentheses. It's just because you couldn't parse the line. I think it was because it couldn't parse the line. It wasn't a real error. So then you payee, become account. You as well. Boop, boop. Account. I missed a comma below down here. You're right. Thank you, Dukasoft. Yeah, there's still an error somewhere. I don't know what it doesn't like. Okay, who cares? Nobody. Not it. So we have you are posted date. I don't know why I deleted transaction. Lost it. And the total. I want to see the total, guys. That kind of goes here. So I'm going to put it in T foot. TR, TD, call span 3. And it'll be right aligned eventually, but for now, I'll just put a label that says total, colon space, and I'll put it inside of a bold at new payment total. All right, and that should sketch out our page for us. Cannot convert from double to string on line 57. And this is one of the issues that I have with using the input fields. So for now, just so we can see it, because I want to see this before we go, we're just going to at bind to new amount. And that way we don't have to worry about needing to create our custom component for input number. Any other errors? Nope, it is running. It is there. Here's all of our input fields. We have our list of cookies and monsters. We have amounts that will increase 1 cent at a time. We can fill in any value we want though, and any valid numeric value, so it's not going to be like you can't have super duper fractions of a penny. I mean, unless you want to. I put it in an EM. I meant to put it in the strong. Strunk. Strunk. You there. You're supposed to be strong. And bold. Okay, so then we would need to also have one more quick thing, div class detail entry. Here with a div class form group and a button type button date on click is handle add detail clicked. It'll have some validation handling, but that would be another place that I would want another form, an edit form, so that I can have the validation handled there as well. And this is exactly what I want to do. This is exactly what I want to do with that. So let's test it out real quick. Oh, we need a something in there. Don't know why I put a self-closing on it, because I'm not thinking, because I'm rushing myself. It's so pretty without CSS, is Dukasoft. Okay, so we have an add button, and so now if we put a subtotal of some amount, click add, it shows up in the table, the total automatically updates, add one more item, tax, and that tax is going to be sales, and it's going to be 422. And then there it goes. So now I have invalid stuff showing that was supposed to go in another row. Oops. Good thing we tested it. Okay, so that's all that we're gonna do for today. We got some stuff going. It's starting to look like something. So this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of the pages as well. This is what I mean by sketching out a page. I'm not worried about the CSS. I am kind of thinking about the structure of the page and how I might position things using CSS, but I'm not worried about actually implementing that CSS. What do you mean test? I don't see any test. We're not doing test yet. Test is going to be on the back end. I will do TDD when we're writing the services. Promise. Promise. At least I'll try to. I don't really know that I know how to do TDD. But anyway, that's going to be it for my time. That's actually 20 minutes over, so I'm going to have to tag on 20 minutes to my workday. Yay! But that's the beauty of working from home and being on this kind of a schedule. I have the ability and the opportunity to choose my hours as long as I'm working 8 hours a day and I'm actually doing the work. My integrity won't let me not do the work. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. We're going to go ahead and rate someone because I haven't rated him forever and he's always been cool to me and I want to be cool to him. I don't know if he lurks on other people's streams while he streams, but I know that I do. So I've been lurking there too. This is Irish John Games. You guys probably know him. He is a game developer. If you're not into game developers, at least hang out for the raid and say hi or something, but definitely don't have to stick around for it. But he's fun. He's crazy. He's also, yeah, he's kind of crude too. So, yeah. If you don't appreciate mature language, then probably also not a good raid for you. Otherwise, I will see you over there. I'll be hanging out there, but mostly I'll be working through my through my Learn courses so that I can be prepared to take the certification exam. Starting next week, I will be back on my normal schedule for my work, so I'll be doing that and then doing my Learn courses in the evening. But yeah, so thanks for being here. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you, Epic of Sam. Again, check her out. She'll be streaming tonight in about 4.5, 5 hours, something like that. Dukasoft, thanks for being here. Ghost Ninja, thanks for showing up today. Super cool to have you here. I saw Zulius, I saw Zultralord, I saw Prog Testing, DC Aggie, Disco. Yeah, we saw Disco. Disco is here. And all of the other fun people. That's it for my time. Ciao for now.